So how come Spencer Jones is not on the AAA roster? What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. So, obviously, celebrating the Yankees win yesterday. Went to the Milwaukee Brewers, fantastic. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was Spencer Jones, and he was sent back to Double A. Okay, and some fans are like, "Why?" And I wondered myself, right? Now let's put up the Double A. Let's put up the AAA roster here. This is the latest AAA roster, okay, for the Yankees. Now, let's go over it. You got your pitchers: Ryan Anderson, Edgar Barclay, Sean Boyle, who was very good in spring training, Colton Brewer, Kervin Castro, Yeri De Los Santos, also good in spring training, Jeff Hartley, Eric Leo, Brandon Liebrandt, Zach Messenger, McKinley Moore, Leonardo Pastana, Eric Razelman, solid as well, Wilking Rodriguez, Alan Winans, also solid, and Rob Zestrinzny. Those are the pitchers. Catchers, you have Ronaldo Hernandez and Alex Jackson, who was also solid in spring training. Infielders, Max Burt, TJ Rumfield, Braden Shoemake, Andrew Velasquez, and Yorbit Vivas. So that's a pretty couple guys there have major league experience, namely Vivas and Velasquez, right? Outfielders, Duke Ellis, Ismael Munguia, who was very good in spring. Everson Pereira, also in the highly touted prospects for the Yankees, who's coming back from Tommy John. Grant Richardson and Jose Rojas. So again, a couple guys here who have direct major league experience. Okay, and one guy was outperforming everybody in spring training, including Jason Dominguez. And that's Ismael Munguia. And then the development list is Edinson Duran. So I got to myself, I wonder, why is Spencer Jones not on here? Because my initial thought was the next logical development step for him is AAA. And you guys let me know. Okay, if you're a fan and you're on sub to this channel, make sure you do that right now. And if you want to be kept in the loop, you want to join live streams, you want to have your voice heard, make sure you turn on the notification. That way, when I do go live, you can join. When I put out news, you'll be at the front of the line when it comes in. And I thank you for both. Okay, but with this, a couple of thoughts in mind here. Number one is, well, Spencer Jones would very likely, if he was a AAA, he'd have to platoon with a lot of these guys. And there's still things. He's got tantalizing talent, obviously, but there's still refinements that need to be made in his skill set, right? He's cutting down on the K rate, getting the ball off the ground a little bit more, and so on. So there are things that need to be refined. And if he's platooning with somebody in AAA, then it's going to be much more difficult to do that. So you'd have to exercise more caution there. Whereas in AA, he can play every day. You can exercise patience with him and let him work on these things. Okay, because once you master AA, you take that step up to AAA. And again, keep in mind, it makes more sense to send them up to AAA if some of these guys are not on the roster. Some of these guys get traded or so on and so forth. So I understand the logic. It's disappointing to me because I really like Spencer Jones, but it makes more sense to have him in AA right now because he can play every day. He can continue to develop it and hone his craft, right? And work on the things that he can work on. And if he's platooning with players in AAA, not playing on a regular basis, it's going to be very hard to do that. So that's my take on it. I mean, I want to know what your take is. I do think that if he plays well enough, he'll get maybe a September call-up this year. So, and it could be an injury call-up too at some point. You never know. It's like Dominguez forced himself on the roster 2 years ago, right? Spencer Jones, I think, can do the same thing. And he's got just as much talent, I think even a higher ceiling than Dominguez. So, and when you talk about the outfield, he's an elite defender. He's a far superior defender in the outfield. But I also think that potentially giving him some reps at first base might not be a bad idea. Beyond this year, we really don't know what's going to happen after Paul Goldschmidt plays this year. Is he going to come back or is he not going to come back, right? So, and we don't really have any obvious candidates for first base. We got TJ Rumfield, yes, but is he going to block Spencer Jones? I highly doubt it. So there's the maneuverability positionally as to where is he going to play, right? And that, to me, I think is going to be the million-dollar question to look for and to kind of ask, especially the first couple months of the season. Does he get off to a good start? Because he had a good spring. He had some clutch home runs. He also struck out a fair amount. Okay, can't deny that. But he had some clutch home runs and some big ones. And he shows his light tower power on a regular basis. But if he starts to put the ball in play a little bit more often, a little bit more frequently, and maybe draws in some balls into the gap, more singles and doubles, because he does hit some singles, that's just going to be another notch on his skill set, right? Which I think needs to happen before he comes up to AAA. Because once he's up in AAA, we're going to need him to really, really essentially make the Yankees have to bring him up to the majors at some point. So, and again, does Cody Bellinger have a good enough year to opt out of his contract? And if he does he come back next year, right? And in which case, if he does opt out and doesn't come back, is there a spot for Spencer Jones? I know a lot of fans are also thinking about Kyle Tucker, but Kyle Tucker is very likely going to cost $500 million. And Spencer Jones has a very similar skill set, and he would come at a fraction of the price for at least 6 years. So it's just something to think about there as well. I like Kyle Tucker, but I also like Spencer Jones. So, and I don't think they're going to pay $500 million for Vladdy Guerrero Jr. either, first base. So right now, what's the direction? And you give me your take, gang. What direction do you see Spencer Jones going? Do you see him getting off to a hot start in Double A? And if he does, would you justify getting him up in AAA? And again, if you move up in AAA, who do the Yankees move in that outfield to make room for him? That's the other key. So, and again, like Minguia, does he get a shot in the majors this year? Does Everson Pereira get a shot in the majors? We don't know. So right now, the Yankees rosters, they have their outfield. They also have Trent Grisham. So there really is no room for anybody right now in the outfield, unfortunately, including Everson Pereira, including Ismael Minguia. And he was a very, very attractive player in spring training. He was very fun to watch. So, and obviously Jason Dominguez is a number one prospect. But Spencer Jones, we have to continue to let him develop and let him continue to show his high potential, his super high ceiling, his lightning speed, and his powerful bat. I liken him to somebody like Ellie De La Cruz, who's a large guy who happens to have power, who happens to have a lot of speed. And that's a kind of a hidden gem in Major League Baseball this year, especially being an elite defender in the outfield too, which he is. So what's your criteria? I'd love to know, at some point, what do you want to see Spencer Jones do? I'd like to see him cut down a little bit on the strikeouts, maybe get to 30% this year, which is still high. But if you can get to 30, that's a good step in the right direction. If you can get him to 30 next year, even better. Okay, so, but every level you go up in baseball, in the farm, you're going to be facing better pitching. It's going to require an adjustment period. So there's that too. And is he good enough to do that? Dominguez kind of forced his way into the roster, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire like Jackson Holiday was. Like Jackson Holiday was like, how do you not play this guy in the majors? But then when he came up, didn't play well. He was clearly not ready. Then he went back down. He hit like 700 in AAA. It's like, oh my God, we got to send him back up. And he went up again. He hit almost 100 again. So he just clearly wasn't ready yet, but he was ready to conquer AAA. So I don't want that same situation to happen with Spencer Jones. And I really, really wonder what your thoughts are. So let's talk about it, gang. Obviously, the Yankees are playing tomorrow afternoon. It's Max Fried versus Nestor Cortez. We'll be live after the game, hopefully celebrate a series win. And it's good to have a day off today. It's really, really good. That way the relievers can get some rest. And I don't know if you notice him. I like the way Mark Leiter Jr. looks, too. He's got a couple miles an hour, zip higher on his fastball. And again, when he came here from the Cubs, it looked like the Cubs may have overworked him. So he was a little bit tired. He had a rough adjustment period last season. But in the playoffs, he was good. In the spring, he was good. Now he's good again. So I'm hoping that we can see the Mark Leiter that we know we can. And I think he could be a valuable asset to this bullpen, as do I think Devin Williams will be too, despite the first game jitters and playing against his old team and the weather being cold and like just a lot of things. And it's opening day too. So, and the crowd was hostile. Once he got guys on base, the crowd started to grimace and started to groan. So I get it. The guy he was a little stressed by. I would be too. But I'm confident. I'm not really worried about that stuff. It's opening day. It's supposed to be that way in opening day. So, but the fact of the matter is, we sweat through it, but the Yankees won. Normally, in the last couple of years, they would have made us sweat and they would have lost. They lost the home opener last year. So they won it this year. Let's get back to Spencer Jones. What do you want? What do you think he can do? What would you hope to see from them? Let's go, Yankees.